Are you putting on a show? Do you feel like you're faking it till you make it and you're on social media and you're doing this and you just want to be your authentic self? Stay tuned, everybody. We have an amazing show with Gila Manolson, and she revolutionized how women feel about themselves and self-esteem. She's unbelievable. Stay tuned. We are living in a world that is more facade than ever in the history of humankind, okay? It's like, what are we showing? And what we're gonna dig in deep today, and you know, we go real deep, real fast. What we're gonna talk about is how to be our authentic selves. So I'd like to welcome Gila Manolson to the show. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, this is fun. Thanks for having me.
Yay! We're gonna have very exciting. The thing I wanna start with is, you know, you're putting on a show. What does it mean to be putting on a show? How does that, like, being authentic and is that the opposite? So we'd love to hear. Okay.
Putting on a show means being anything other than your authentic self. It means either trying to present yourself as the perfect wife or the perfect mother or the perfect frum woman or the perfect hostess or the mostess or whatever it is. But anytime you feel yourself slipping away from your genuine self and adopting some kind of a veneer because you feel that's what people want or expect, or that's how you'll please them or get approval, you're losing your grip on your true self, and you are sliding into putting on a show.
Okay, I got that clear. My question is, okay, this is other people have this issue that I've noticed. What do you mean their authentic self? Like, no, I'm kind of joking. Like, I don't even know, like, what is my authentic self? How does one define that, figure that out, know that? I mean, how do you, and until you know that, then how do you know whether you're putting on a show or not?
Wow, that's a really good question. And I have to tell you, I mean, I was just blessed with a mother who was such an incredible role model in this area that I never had that issue. But I remember when I was in London, actually, several years ago, and I gave a class on individuality, and the Rebbitzin of the community came over to me afterwards. And she said to me, I am so caught up in the role of like Rebbitzin and, you know, doing chesed and giving counsel and doing that. She says, I'm not even sure who I am anymore. And I was so shocked and so saddened because this is a lovely, lovely woman, probably in her 40s. And she really had lost that sense of herself because she was thrust into a certain role of which there were certain expectations of her. And she somehow felt like she had to compromise who she was to fulfill them. I don't believe you have to do that. Like, I know exactly how I would be if I was a Rebbitzin of a community. And I don't know how long I would last, to be perfectly honest. But
why? Because it's just too hard. It's too hard in the too hard basket. Why wouldn't you last? What do you,
No, in terms of them wanting me, like, it's, you know, if they would want someone to play that kind of a role, I don't really know how to be anything other than myself. If you're not sure if you're being authentic, sometimes you have to stop and say, okay, that thing that I just said right now, is that really how I feel? You know, you have to stop.
But you don't want to stop. You don't want to say what you feel to everybody because you hurt everybody's feelings.
No, for sure. But you can still ask yourself, is it really how I feel? And now what do I want to say while being fully aware of what I truly feel? Of course, I don't know. I don't tell everybody what I feel by any means all the time, but I know what I feel. And then I know that I'm choosing to say something else for, you know, diplomatic reasons or whatever.
Right. So now the question is that Rebbitzin who said, I don't know who I am. I'm just playing the role of counselor and helper and whatever. How did you fix her? You know, how did you, like, you know, what did you say to her to set her in a path?
Wow. So long ago, I can hardly even remember anymore. But
like, if you met her today, what would you say to her of what she can do?
Right. I would actually say, step out of your role for a week, go on vacation somewhere, and spend a lot of time with yourself, just with yourself. Just walk out in nature, you know, sit by the fireside, do whatever you want, and really try and feel that sense of self welling up within you, you know? Like, it's hard to describe what it just means to be yourself, but it's a very centering, natural feeling. And something kind of goes ding when you know you're being authentic, like ding, yes, that's it. There's no fakeness here. You know what I mean? But I think you have to take time out from the roles that we are thrust into to step back and look and say, wait a second, is this way that I'm acting every day? Is this way that I'm being? Is it something I'm putting on, or is it really the real me?
So the question is, if you know, in terms of, we all have who we really are, like what you're saying, and that's hard to discover, I would think, to sort of know. You're saying you naturally came to it. So, you know, can we all go live in with your mother? I don't know. But there's that aspect, but there's also who we want to be. So in other words, we might not have the capacity to have guest all the time and be that person who's like, you know, got it, and, you know, who's styling their table and whatever. That's who we want to be, but that isn't necessarily who we are. But also there's a beauty to having goals, to wanting to be that kind of person. You know, it's kind of like, you know, somebody who wants 10 kids, but really can only handle 2, you know, but they have that drive in them to want to be the most of what they are. You know, they're a follower in their office, and they see the leader and they want to be that leader, and they want to be, you know, so then they're working towards that. So they start with a little group that they're leading, maybe in their shul, in their, you know, a place of worship or something, you know. So how do you differentiate? Number one, finding your authentic self, and you're saying that's a vacation, is that stepping out of the role helps you to get to that place. But secondly is, how do you differentiate that authentic self versus your goals of who you want to be?
Yeah. So I think it's very simple. This is who I am now. This is who I want to be. I hope to be 10 years from now. And I accept who I am now. And it's funny that you gave that example about having 10 kids, because I remember that was my first conflict that I remember having as a frum woman. When I was single, I was fine. I did my own thing. I rode a motorbike. I came to my first date like with a helmet on practically, you know, and I just didn't really, you know, it didn't matter. But once you're married, suddenly things shift and you feel more put into a role. And I remember I had my first kid, who happened to have been a cesarean, and I'm sitting around thinking, I don't know if I'm ready to have another one like right away. Does that mean that I'm not a good frum woman? I mean, a good frum woman is supposed to just take all her blessings and everything, and like as they come. And I remember that conflict of being, I want to have a large family. I believe in large families, but you know, and I didn't even know with a cesarean, whatever, you know, you're allowed to recuperate a little bit, you know, but like I just still remember that feeling of, you know, I have to try and be this. And then I finally realized, yeah, I can aspire to that. You know, I can recuperate, and I can still go on to Bezrat Hashem to work towards having that large family. But I've seen too many women when they get married. Oh gosh, I remember this friend of mine. She was just so much fun. She taught an Israeli dance class, and she was lively and humorous and colorful. And then she got married. And she came to my house shortly after she got married, and she's sitting at my table wearing this shadel that just had nothing to do with who she was. Like, it just didn't match her personality at all. And she's sitting there very quietly and demurely and not speaking and anything, and just letting her husband speak and not saying a word. And I thought, oh my gosh, what's happened to her? And then she called me up like about 6 weeks later, and she said she was depressed. And I'll never forget the line she said to me. She said to me, now that I'm married, who am I? And I thought, oh my gosh, you should be a more excited, fulfilled you, ready to bring everything that you have as a unique individual to your marriage. And what was that deal on Shabbos? Like, what role were you trying to play there? Like, who even were you? I don't recognize you, you know? And so thank God she regained herself. And, you know,
what did she do? Tell us her journey. What did she, or what you conjecture? I mean, nobody knows other people's journey, but, you know,
right.
What do you think was the process that brought her to be able to be her full expression of herself?
Well, I think her husband was very helpful, because her husband had met the real self before they got married.
Right, like, hello, where'd you go? Right.
Yeah, he had presumably wanted to marry her real self because she was not being anything other than she was when she was dating. It's just something like this axe just dropped after she got married. And so I think he really supported her. And also he's kind of like a psychologist. So he's very tuned into that kind of stuff. But I remember first she discarded her wig and started wearing these very colorfully tied scarves. And then she went back to teaching Israeli dance. And then she started a one-woman comedy show for women.
That's
and it was
wonderful.
It was so cool, and it was so beautiful to see her blossom into the person that she was meant to be. It was beautiful.
This
beautiful,
is very
exciting.
inspiring. We've got a lot of questions coming in. Let me just take one. Okay, Sari.
No, we actually firstly have a lot of interaction. We have firstly on Instagram, we have Jay Miller. He said, read all her books, amazing and life-changing. So, and then on Facebook, someone who wrote in, Lauren, I'm literally excited for Gila. I have all her books, starstruck. But we also had a comment that came in. Someone said, sometimes when I'm not on social media, I feel so much more connected to myself. And I know you're going to probably address social media, but I just wanted to bring something back to the first comment you made, which was about your mother. So you said your mother really gave you that. She was your role model and she really helped you obviously feel very independent and gave you that authentic self and individuality. What happens if you don't have that? And all your life you've been pretending to be something else, right. And now you have to start doing it, at the age of 47,
Thank you. Right.
Yeah. So I'll tell you something. There are so many amazing role models out there. We have to seek them out. One of the things I really, really regret, actually, when I was single, is I never became a bat bayit by a family where I could really emulate the woman and really learn from her and pick up on the interactions between her and her husband and things like that. But now that, I haven't done it for a couple of years because of COVID, but I've been going on speaking tours in America and staying in the homes of these most wonderful people. And I feel like I'm having the experience I wish I had had when I was younger now. I'm observing these women. I'm staying in their homes and going, wow, look at that respect that she just gave her husband right there. Or look at the way she just laughed and threw her head back with complete, lack of self-consciousness. That was really cool. Or look at this, or look at that. So what I would say is you have to find people that you admire and just attach yourself to them, hang out with them. Seriously, go over to their house and offer to peel vegetables, sit in their kitchen and chat with them, whatever it takes. But I personally don't believe that should be reserved for only the years before you're married. I think after you're married, I still need it. I still constantly need the inspiration of other amazing women.
That's fantastic. Okay. Can I go to the next question here? Yeah. Okay. She's flagging me. Okay. So you had said one thing that really struck a chord with me in our pre-show interview, and that is you said that wholesome is your favorite word. Can you explain that?
Wholesome. Oh, I love that word. I love that word. My favorite in the English language. Wholesome to me means completely unpretentious, natural, not needing to prove anything to anybody, comfortable in your skin. It also means kind of traditional values, like not having to be hot or having to be cool or having to be anything that anyone says you're supposed to be today. Just a good old-fashioned girl. You know what I mean? Just a good old-fashioned, not hot, you can be pretty, that old-fashioned word pretty, remember that one? Just and just when I see wholesome, I know it. And I go, wow, I want to meet this girl's mother. That's how I feel. She turned out a girl like this in this society today, in which wholesomeness is increasingly elusive. I want to know how she got this. I want to meet the lady who brought this out in this girl. Wholesome. Yeah. It's a beautiful, authentic, gorgeous word.
So I'm totally with you. My question is, how do we grow wholesomeness within ourselves?
Oh, you're asking me such hard questions.
I know, sorry.
How do we grow wholesomeness within ourselves? For me, I'll tell you very honestly, you mentioned social media before. wow, the less you have to do with social media, the easier it is to be wholesome. Because
But
all
people are
these,
addicted. It's kind of like you want to, there's adrenaline rush that's available there. And, someone called me up and said, Leah, can you be on, on our board? We want to do a whole anti-social media campaign and blah, blah, blah. And whatever. I said, I believe it, but it's kind of like, I wouldn't stand in front of a moving train coming right at me. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is it? The light at the end of the tunnel that is a train coming to run you over. So I demurred because how do you say demurred? I said no, okay, because I laud it. I think it's fantastic. I just think it's impossible. Not just because it's taken over the planet Earth, but because it also it's an individual thing. It's each person. I see very, very hush of special people who are constantly picking up their phone constantly. It's kind of like they don't probably even recognize how addicted they are. And I don't even go there in terms of anti-social media. Now, do I think there should be limits? Limits people can do, I think, limits, but shutting it off, I think.
No, I wasn't going to say eliminating it altogether. I was going to say putting limits on it. Like my husband goes on his phone twice a day at certain times. And that's how, he keeps up with the family WhatsApps. Neither of us are on Facebook, believe it or not. Neither of us are into any of that stuff. But in terms of family stuff and friend stuff and whatever, yeah, we keep up. We do what we have to do and what we want to do. But the more you're on that stuff, it's just so image oriented. It's so, what drives me really, really crazy. And I don't understand how people do this. But like one of the most romantic moments in your life when a guy proposes to you. And suddenly, we're in this world where your proposal has to be filmed and put up on YouTube right afterwards. And I get to see him go, will you marry me? And she go, oh, and she starts, and like, is there no such thing as privacy anymore? Is there no such thing as like just a deep personal connection between people that's being broadcast to the world? So as soon as you know that anything you're doing is going to be videoed and broadcast to the world, or, the breakfast you ate is going to be on display on Facebook so everybody can say, oh, wow, love the way you made that omelet. Whatever it is, it's nobody is relating to you for your internal self through that whole process. So I know you can't get away from it. I know part of our lives revolve around it, but we can limit it. I'm sorry, we can. I held out as long as I could before I got a smartphone. And I finally couldn't live without a smartphone anymore, but I limit it. And I don't have a thing on that tells me every single second I got a WhatsApp and I have to go check it and da-da-da. I haven't even looked at my emails today. When I get around to it, I will. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, you can't let it rule you because it takes you over and it pulls you into the realm of superficiality and image orientedness so fast. And that's what we want to get away from.
Okay, I'm going to take the other question. Hold on. There was one thing you made me think of. I want to talk a little bit about conformity. Let's take this question first, though.
Okay, so actually, again, social media is such a big, crazy basket. And someone is actually saying, she says, hi, I'm a single mom. This is from Facebook, Lauren. I'm always told on dates by guys and people I'm dating how wholesome I am, but of course, it doesn't end up anywhere. How much more wholesome can I become? She did LOL. Guys keep saying they want stronger and tougher girls. I'm always getting mixed messages.
So what? So
great question. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you. Great question. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So you're going to be stronger and tougher, which is not who you really are, so that you can attract some guy. How could that guy possibly be your share if you are sending off a false scent? It doesn't make any sense. And it's not a numbers game. All you need is one person out there. I was surprised. I was more surprised than anybody else when I met my husband after only 1 year of dating. I was sure I'd be dating for several because I knew I was different. And I wasn't going to pretend to be anybody that wasn't, because then I wouldn't get my bashert. I wouldn't get the right guy. Like it doesn't make sense. If you're sweet and you're adel and you're wholesome, there's a guy out there somewhere, believe me, who wants a sweet, adel, wholesome girl. And you're it. And if you pretend to be somebody different, you're going to miss him. You're going to miss your soulmate. You can't risk doing that. That's terrible.
And I have to a little secret to tell that Gila Manolson is probably the only person in the history of the planet Earth or whatever that ever did not wear makeup to her wedding. And everyone's like, "Oh, come on, just a little blush, a little." It's just, I want my husband to be marrying me for who I am, not with all the superficialities. That's really a stamp of like who you are.
Well, my physical self, even without makeup, isn't really who I really am. But I still figured, hey, on this day when you're committing to life for me, you might as well at least see what you're getting, the real thing physically. You know what I mean?
And how did your husband feel about it at the time?
He had never seen me in makeup. So it didn't bother him at all. And my husband's amazing. He's like so supportive of who I am. I'm not going to tell you other things I do that other women do that I don't do. But I'm not into all this stuff and this having to make yourself be fake and turn yourself into a mannequin to look like a woman. Like, I think I look like a woman without makeup. I think women are beautiful without makeup. I think women are beautiful with makeup also. Whatever you want to do it. But nobody was going to pressure me. And I did not wear, you know what I did? I wore a little bit of Vaseline on my lips on my wedding. That's what I wore.
You mean so that you're, because all the smiling, you wow.
And I think I put a little bit on the ends of my eyelashes or something. And that was it. Vaseline. That was my wedding makeup.
That's great. You just shut down an entire industry, Gila. Okay. So now I wanted to ask you is
can I just say something there, by the way?
Yeah.
I actually feel that the more unmarketable like I can be, in other words, the less business I can give the beauty industry, the more authentic I am being. My goal in life would be to basically put the beauty industry out of business.
Interesting. Why?
Because it's all based upon preying on women's insecurities. The whole way the beauty industry works is, first, it tells women, you are your physical self. You are not your inner self. You're not your neshama. You're your body. You're your face. You're your hair. That's who you are. That's what gives you value. And now take a closer look, ladies. Your cheeks are too fat. Your teeth aren't white enough. Your hair, you're having bad hair days all the time. Your eyelashes are too short. Your lips are too thin. Your nose is too big. This, that. And then when they filled you full of insecurity, then they say, we have the product to alleviate your insecurity. It's just $29.99 today. You know what I mean? If you buy now. And so I just feel that the less money I spend on any of that stuff, and I spend pretty much nothing on it, the happier I am and the more content I am with myself. I don't think I'm any beauty queen, but like I'm good enough for my husband and I'm good enough for me. And that's really all that matters.
Wow.
Like I'm not looking to turn heads when I go down the street, at least not at my age anyway. But even when I was younger, once you're married, it's like, what's it's my husband likes me without makeup. I like me without makeup. I don't really give a fig what the rest of the world likes.
Wow. Okay, hold on. Okay.
Yeah, Ilana Kaimov on Instagram said 100% and a big heart, because I think we don't hear that enough. And I think it's important for women to hear that they are more than just what the product they're wearing or what the designer label they have on. But I think the biggest problem is, and I know from Leah that you're going to be getting into that, but I think the biggest problem is, like you said, is that the world is so external and everyone is sharing everything. Like half of Instagram is all people doing tutorials on how to apply makeup and what's the best products to use. And so how do you get out of that? Because you step out your door. I mean, especially living right, Leah, in Los Angeles. I don't have that anymore in Eretz Yisrael. It's like, there's no billboards, but living in Los Angeles, you used to walk out and you were blasted with stuff, products and things, and you see it enough and you just want it. That's the way we are.
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, I just never wanted it. But that's first of all, my personality is the more you push me in one direction, the more I will dafka go in the other direction. Maybe that's immature. I'm willing to believe it's a leftover adolescent rebellion and I'm immature. It could be. But if I walk into a store and the saleswoman starts coming on real strong, oh, look at this sweater, look, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, leave me alone, and I'll walk out. I'll just walk out, So I resent it so much when anybody tries to make me feel not good about myself so that they can make more money off of me. I see it just for what it is. And I just kind of like bolt in the other direction. I don't know how to describe it, but that's what I do. And I want to stress.
Okay, well, Leah, can she answer then how her mother gave her that? Because it seems like so ingrained naturally in who she is. There has to be tips. There has to be things her mother did that we can do even if we necessarily can't fix it on ourselves. Like, I'd love to be able to bring up my children and my daughters to have your sense of like, I don't need to please others, and I want to, right.
And standing up, it's like a level of self-confidence and self-esteem of, it's Gila standing on one side of the football field, and the other football field is every corporate giant they've got billions of dollars behind them to convince you. And you're like, how do you be that person?
Who cares? I'll tell you, I think it's also to do with my upbringing. We were the only Jews pretty much in our community. So I always knew I was different in that way, even though Judaism at that point in my life didn't have as much meaning to me, let's put it mildly, as it does today. We were also the only Democrats in a Republican township. And my mother, I remember when I was a little kid, I saw my mother painting signs in the basement. And it turns out she had organized her own basically protest against a local realtor who was refusing to sell houses in our neighborhood to Blacks. This was many years ago. She did her own, she got a few friends, and she painted signs, and she picketed this realtor because she said, this is the right thing to do, and I'm going to do it. So that was like a role model for me. Okay.
Yeah, wow.
And she never wore makeup. She, of course, always wore lipstick when you leave the house because that was like de rigueur. In that time you had to, you know what I mean? But she wore pants, and she was just funny. All my friends loved her because she was just a riot. She would make funny faces all the time and just go like, ugh, and she would do things like that. And she was different than anybody else's mother that I knew. And I remember one time we were sledding when we were kids. I was like 13 or 14. She's like, oh, give me a chance. And she hops on the sled and goes zooming down the hill and goes, woo, like that. And she was just completely natural and completely funny, opinionated, unpretentious. And that's just like what I grew up with. And I tried to do it with my own.
And wholesome, Gila, and wholesome.
And wholesome. She was wholesome. She was wholesome. That whole era was so much more wholesome, Oh my gosh. But
I would love to know about how to be more wholesome. I think that's such I want a book from you, how to be the return of wholesome,
Well, if you want to try and be wholesome, you have to realize you're probably going to be also embarrassing your teenage daughters at various
Yeah, but wait, by the way, Leah, it's interesting because you just said that and she had said that, but that a question just came to my mind, and I think I'll actually maybe pull in. I know that Gila is came out with a new book. My big issue, and I find it more here now since I moved to Eretz Yisrael, is there is such a separation of where you are and how you look. People judge you for who you are. And it's very hard, especially with children and putting them into schools. And you have to fit into the community. I mean, as much as I could sit there and say, well, this is who I am and take me for who I am, it's at the risk of hurting my children and hurting my family and hurting their placement in the community, because there's only so many battles I can. It's nice for me to battle on my own turf, but I can't battle for other people. So you understand, like, I find that our communities also segregate us and separate us and expect us to fit a certain box.
It's true. It's true. And we do have to compromise. And I definitely had to compromise. There's no question about it. But I compromised mostly outside of the house. Like inside the house, my kids saw the real me, and they knew that when I'm going to a parent-teacher meeting or something like that, so I'm going to put on my more conservative skirt, or I'm going to put on the black snood, or I'm going to put on, I don't know, whatever it is. Something was in the realm of who I could be, but it was on the conservative end. But I never put on a shadel. Just because I'm just not a shadel person. Again, nothing against makeup, nothing against shadels. I'm just not a shadel person. And so I said, I'm sorry, like I can go this far for you. You know, my kids they always wanted me just be normal, just be normal. You know, I remember one Purim, I put on a shadel and makeup, and I hung a sign around my neck that said normal. You know, like,
that's adorable.
you know, but what I have to say something though, is my kids really would have liked to have had a more normal mother at certain points in their life, but I'm so proud of who they've grown up to be. I did not want to produce sheep. I just didn't. I wanted to produce good from kids who were independent minded, who could think for themselves, who could question, who could argue, who could be themselves, who could say, this is ridiculous, I'm not going to do this, or this, whatever it is. I just wanted independent thinkers, and they are. So all the embarrassment that I caused them, my kids, I remember walking out of the neighborhood once, and my kids were walking next to me, and I guess they just didn't like the way I dressed that day. They crossed the street so that nobody would know that like I was their mother. So you know what I did? I got back at them. I yelled out really loud, walking down the street. And I shouldn't have done this. I'm sure I shouldn't have done this. I yelled out really loud and I pointed and I said, I'm their mother. You know,
These were teenagers, you're saying that happened.
Yes, young teenagers, the age of mortification, I call it. You know, when they're just like nothing.
Bianca 18 on Instagram said that's a good one. She loves that, and I think she's using that on her kids. So.
But the issue is that by the time they're 22, they probably looked to you and were like, she had a backbone that was unique and different, and that they would aspire to be like.
One of my daughters actually told me that. She's the one who's most emotionally expressive, and she said, you know, like I got you know, my passion for being who I am from you. I got this, that, whatever. And she's done some remarkable things in her life. She is literally the most self-confident young woman I think I've ever met. And she works with juvenile delinquents. She's worked with juvenile criminals, and she turns them into mensches, and she models self-esteem for them. She just models it. And she attracts them. She is such a charisma. She was a counselor at a camp for kids in Russia. She couldn't even speak Russian, but just her presence and her personality had such an impact on the girls that one of the girls, when she took a Hebrew name, she named herself after my daughter. You know, so that's when I feel like, I must have done something right, even though, you know, they would have loved to have had a mother who just wore a shadel and makeup and just looked like all the other mothers, you know, in our community, because we live in a kind of Haredi neighborhood, and shadels and a little bit of makeup is like the norm. And then I'm here with my tichels and my longer skirts and da. But they all survived the experience, and I really believe they emerged stronger for it. And I see it. They did.
Can you talk to us a little bit about authenticity? What is authenticity? And I know you cover this in some of your books. And I'd like to, you know, sort of explore that anyone who's watching the show today, that this conversation about authenticity gets them on a path to further authenticity, myself included.
I'll give you an example of the opposite of authenticity, and you can see from that. So there's a lovely religious woman in this neighborhood. We used to be in a parenting group together many years ago, and I'll never forget something she said. She said, for the first 10 years of my marriage, my husband and I had no real relationship, because he was so keen on being the perfect kollel husband, and I was so keen on being the perfect kollel wife, that we were just playing roles the whole time. And we had no real relationship, like soul to soul, to speak of. Okay? That's the opposite of authenticity. That's like not even knowing what I want, how I would choose to behave, because I just assume I have to play this role, you know? And I remember when I first became a mother, I remember thinking, maybe I have to tame myself. Like, you know, maybe I shouldn't be giving my kids elephant rides. I used to get down on all fours and you stick a kid on your back and you pretend to be an elephant or a lion or like all these things that you do with toddlers. It's so much fun. And I asked a Rebbitzin, actually, I went to a big Rebbitzin and I said, like, should I be doing this stuff with my kids? And maybe it's not a dignified religious image of a religious woman for my kids to grow up with. And she said, in mothering, you have to be yourself. Have to be yourself. And you just keep doing what you're doing. And obviously, I wasn't giving them elephant rides when they were 15, okay? but when they were 1 and 2, that I could just do all this fun stuff with them.
I love that. Explain to me that couple who for 10 years were playing those roles. Where do they go from there? How did you get them? How did you fix them? I'm kind of joking, but I mean, if somebody is in that and they see that, like, there's probably somebody who's listening who's like, yeah, I am kind of playing a role. What would your journey to a deeper connection look like?
Well, with people that I know who have done that, another friend of mine who tried to be the housewife and she got depressed and until she had to go out and do something different that she needed to do for herself. I think what happens is that people just kind of hit a place in which they really realize they're miserable. I hate to say it, but sometimes you have to kind of like hit that rock bottom place. You have to just feel like this is not me. This isn't who I want to be. Something went wrong here. I'm on some path that I wouldn't have chosen for myself. And I just kind of got carried along on it, like on a conveyor belt. And now I'm here. And this is not where I ever wanted to be, playing this fakey role. You know what I mean? And then you just have to like wake up and start. I
think most people could talk themselves into what you just said in their life. In other words, because the base of Migdash isn't here, or whatever, everybody's life has a chink in it, so I think I'm worried that people who watch like, yeah, and I know from in the 1970s, that's when the divorce just started skyrocketing or whatever. It was because when people had that sort of existential angst, this feeling of, why am I here? Why was I put on the earth? What, my life doesn't look the way I want it to, which can be the seeds. It can plant the seeds of extraordinary growth and fulfillment in our lives. But what the whole ethos of that time period, and I don't know, the books and the talk shows and the lectures and the therapists and everybody's advice, well, you're in the wrong marriage. That's right. What's the problem. And
right. You won't be able to actualize yourself.
Right. Self-actualization. Exactly. So I'm worried what the advice you were just giving to our viewers is going to have them do that soul searching and introspection and try and move around the furniture of their life until they're bumping, hurting their shins from bumping into all the furniture. So everybody take one step back, take a deep breath. Okay. We don't want to rearrange all the furniture. So
if you're in a basically good, loving marriage, you don't do it on your own. You do it like with your husband. Like I remember even maybe 10 years ago, I realized I had been defining, I don't want to say what, but I had been defining myself as something that I realized I really wasn't. And I was not defining myself as something else that I realized I really was. And I just remember, Baruch Hashem, my husband loves me and I love him. And we sat down and I was like, Avraham, I don't think this is really who I am. I think I've been trying to be this person. And it's a small area of my life. I'm mostly authentic, but in this area, I don't know. I don't think it's really, and we talked it out and we talked through it. And he was like, so then don't. If that's not who you are, you don't have to keep that label if you don't want to, and you can adopt a new label, you can whatever. And it was like, it was a joint thing. It's not like I went into a room and I came out and I said, well, Avraham, guess what? I'm not the woman you thought I was. I'm someone, right. I'm someone different, But, I was thinking lately, I've really been getting into my morning brachas and really trying to make them more meaningful instead of just rattling them off. And I was just thinking the other day how that's a really great place to start in terms of affirmations of individuality, depending upon the kavanas that you bring to them. But like, for example, the morning brachas that start with right? Thank you, God, for opening up my eyes, right? So I thank you, God, for opening up my eyes to this wonderful world full of unique people, of which I am one. Let me see the beauty and the uniqueness in everybody in this world. Thank you, God, Malbish Arumim. Thank you, God, for giving me the opportunity to express myself through appropriate and dignified dress that nevertheless is my style and a reflection of who I am. Matir Asurim. Thank you, God, for freeing me from the self-imposed constraints that I have put on myself to try and be somebody that I might not be. Thank you for freeing me from that. Zokef, and it goes on like that. And every bracha that I say, I've actually found a way to affirm my own uniqueness in this world. And I think that if a woman starts her morning off by saying these brachas in that way, it can really just set you on the right path for the rest of the day. They're like affirmations. Affirmations are very powerful.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Okay, I want to get back to the pathway to authenticity, but we're going to take, we have a couple of questions coming in.
Actually, before questions, so there was Jody on Facebook actually said, and I think it's something that we would love for Gila to really just explain a little bit. So she was saying, when we were talking about the whole topic about the beauty industry and makeup and all that. So she says, I disagree with this topic. She did say LOL because she wants to make sure she's disagreeing respectfully. She says, that's more plastic surgery, not makeup artists and sheitel business, because that's parnasa for so many women whose husbands are actually learning. And there is a need for the makeup and sheitel industry. So I think that we don't want anyone to think that we are, saying, oh my God, makeup and sheitel is all bad. I think what Gila was trying to say, and I think Gila can explain, is that it's whatever the person wants, but it has to be because they genuinely want that, meaning she's not against any of those things. So
yeah,
I feel like
let's hear her answer. Very, very, thank you very much. Great point and question. Okay.
Yeah. So I tried to say, I am not against sheitels and makeup. It's more of your attitude towards it and how important it is to you. I just remember, when you suddenly see a woman who, for whatever reason, it's Friday night, she didn't get her makeup on in time before Shabbos and she's stuck without makeup, or whatever it is, okay? And you see that she looks less confident. I remember speaking to Balo Tshuva, who said the hardest thing for them when they became frum was on Saturday, on Shabbat, not being able to reapply their makeup. And they said their self-confidence just plummeted. Now, again, I firmly believe in every woman has the right to do whatever she wants to her body, including plastic surgery if she wants. I feel sorry for women who feel the need to do extensive plastic surgery, but I understand, and I've fantasized about it myself, to be perfectly honest. And sometimes, as you see yourself going to pot, you do fantasize about little tucks here and there, But it's a question of, like, to what degree does it rule over you? Do you feel like I'm not okay without it? You see, that's when I stopped wearing makeup. I'll tell you, I wore makeup for about 6 months when I was 16. And I thought that before that, I felt like I'm okay without makeup, and I'm even better looking with makeup. And then what happened to me personally is I started to feel like I'm not okay without makeup, and makeup just brings me up to 0.0. Like, makeup makes me look passable, okay. And without it, I'm not okay. And then I said, whoa, I don't like this. This is addictive. And I stopped. I went cold turkey and I never wore makeup again, because that's how determined I was not to let something control me. I also have I have to confess, I have this phobia about anything that's like emotionally addictive. And for me personally, makeup was emotionally addictive. And I didn't like the feeling like me without makeup is no longer acceptable. I no longer like the way I look without makeup, my natural self. That just really bothered me. And as soon as I stopped wearing it, I went back to liking my natural self again, So again, if a woman feels okay about herself, and you want to be beautiful for your husband, if your husband likes makeup and sheitel, gesundheit, go out there. I have to be personally honest and say that I would not say that women should be wearing tons of makeup and shadels so that they can give parnasa to women who have that as a job. I think there are other jobs that women could find if necessary. But yeah, if that's what women want, gesundheit. But don't let it be a need. Don't let it be an addiction. Don't let it be, I'm not okay without it. And if I'm stuck without my shadel, because it didn't get back from the shadel macher on time, and I have to wear tichels on Shabbos, just, you know what I'm saying?
Give yourself space, permission to just be okay with the way you already are. Okay, I want, if it's possible, I know this is a little bit outside the box. I would love a 3-point plan on how to be more authentic.
Oh gosh, you're putting me on the spot.
Sorry, we didn't cover that, but I just am, what I'm listening to is people who are watching this who are like, yeah, from what you're saying, because it's so compelling. It's so like, oh, let's get back to, who we really are and our own empowerment and our own self-esteem. It's so irresistible what you're saying, what you're offering, to not have to have that facade and to be putting on a show all the time. That sounds so wonderful. I think it would be, if there was some direction on how to become that, I think that would be amazing.
Okay, so I'm thinking about the people who I interviewed for my most recent book, which is called Finding Ourselves in the Crowd: What 18 Out-of-the-Box Jews Can Teach Us About Individuality and Orthodoxy. Excellent. So when I wrote, writing Finding Ourselves in the Crowd was the funnest project I've done, because I got to interview these really, really cool people. And I got to see how they went, like their own process that they went through in terms of becoming themselves and being themselves. So obviously the first thing is just realizing, what do I really love doing? And even if it's something as unusual as like training SEALs, or whatever it is. Okay, what do I really love doing?
Eating chocolate cake. Okay, let's get real. Okay. Okay. Well, or make chocolate chip ice cream. Let's be our real authentic self. Okay, so good.
Okay. Like what do I feel passionate about? What excites me? What do I feel? They talk about this thing about, what's the expression when you're in the mode? No,
in the zone.
Yeah. In the zone, when you're doing something and time just flies, you don't know how much time has gone by because you're so caught up about it and so excited. That's how I feel about writing. That's how I feel when I write. And I didn't know that about myself in terms of writing, but for most of my life, until I got into my late 20s, and I just discovered it, and I was like, whoa. And I'm going to write unusual things too. Like, look out. My first book, The Magic Touch, was a little bit of a different kind of book, but I believed in it and I did it. So the first thing is just really find out what you're passionate about, and then just start doing it no matter what. And then the third step is, and this is the tricky one, is assuming you want to be part of From community, which I think we all should want to be. Then it's like, how do I negotiate my individuality, the very real need to nevertheless fit in somewhere, to be part of some community somehow? And that's the part that I found the most fascinating about the people that I interviewed, because they didn't have trouble, maybe because they were raised by mothers like mine, but they didn't have trouble identifying their passion, and they didn't have trouble doing it, even when people told them, you're never going to get a shidduch. No boy is going to want a girl who's really into dogs. No girls want a guy who has reptiles in his house. No, whatever it is. They still sailed through that. But then once they got married and they had to be part of a community, how they were able to kind of conform in the areas in which it was not painful for them to conform, so they could be seen as a full-fledged member of this community, and then their differences could be tolerated. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. This one.
How? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go give the example. Interesting.
Okay. So this one story in my book is of a family that pulled their kids out of school for 2.5 years and got an RV, and they RV'd all over the US and homeschooled. They call it rose schooled their kids. and took them to see all the national parks and went hiking and climbing and up to Alaska and this and that and all this very cool stuff. And they were told when they did this, your kids will never get shidduchim. They're so out of the box. Nobody will relate to their lifestyle. Nobody will relate to how they're raised, this, or whatever. But the parents, that they did it. And when they came back, but the mother sings in the chorus in this community. The mother teaches gymnastics to the Beis Yaakov girls. You know what I mean? And the father, learns part-time in Kollel, and he does like wedding photography. And like, in other words, you do as many normal things as you can do that feel fine for you to do. You know what I mean? You do chesed. You cook for mothers who've just had babies. And everyone goes, oh, she's really part of our community. Look at all the wonderful things she's doing. Okay, she's a little weird. She's crunchy granola. She has home birth. She eats kale. Whatever the thing is. I'm thinking of some of the people in my book. You know what I mean? He's a wilderness guy. He takes whatever it is. But we still see that he still is, a Jew. He's not poresh min tzibur. He's not separating himself from the community. He's just bringing his individuality to the community in tolerable doses and in ways in which people can actually appreciate it. And see, that's the third step. The third step is really, it's not just when you fit into the community and they tolerate you, but they begin to appreciate your exceptionality. When they begin to say, wow, if she's so into dance, maybe she should be teaching a dance class for our Beis Yaakov girls. You know what I mean? Because she knows how to do it b'tzniut, and she knows how to do it appropriately and all, whatever. And then they begin to welcome and appreciate the thing that makes you different. And particularly like one person in my book who went out on a total limb and got complete public censure for what she did. She did an altruistic kidney donation. But she knew she was saving a life. And don't you think everybody was in awe of her after she did this, even though everybody was opposed to it at first, because you're endangering yourself and who knows, and you're only going to have one kidney from now on, and you're 60 something already, and how can you take this risk? And no. And but everybody in my book has reached a point in which not only are they accepted in their community, but they're appreciated. People might chuckle at them. Yeah, she's really out of the box. But they still appreciate their differences.
Wow.
And
sorry, say that again.
So the third step is when you take your passion into the community and you share it with them, and they begin to realize she really does have something to offer. She can teach me how to grow my own food in my backyard. That's really cool. Oh, we thought she was this crazy environmentalist and we couldn't relate to all this ecology, this, whatever stuff. But, this is neat. She knows how to make apple cider out of used apple cider out of used apple peels. That's a cool thing to know. When people realize that you have something to contribute, their minds expand to be able to take you in more. And then it becomes easier and easier for you to be yourself as well.
Gorgeous.
Like
it's gorgeous.
In the beginning, it's hard. Mm-hmm. But as you carve a path for yourself in the world and in your community, and you eventually become accepted.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. We have time for one last question.
Yes. So no, actually, Leah, I was actually going to say, when you had asked Gila to come up with 3 things, and I'm like, wait. I already took a few things from what she said. I love the affirmations. So I'm totally going to try to incorporate that, even if it's not necessarily into davening, which I love. Gila, if you could write out your davening affirmations, those are great. They fit in perfectly. So I'll totally take that.
And we can post, if you do that, we can post them on the show.
It's so good. Yeah. But even just daily affirmations about authenticity is huge. Shutting down from your phone or social media for a little period of time, like even if it's an hour, 2 hours, whatever, making it certain hours, which is great. But 3 is taking that 1 week vacation. I mean, I'm totally going for like a week off, and I'm going to search for myself, and, you know, bye-bye everyone. So thank you.
All right. Last question quickly. We're out of time.
Yeah, no, just somebody was asking is that, how do you now create that? If there's one maybe point you could give, if you've been a certain way with your spouse all the time, how do you now sort of, you know, say, hey, honey,
into that.
I haven't been me the whole time. Now this is me.
Well, I'll tell you, it kind of depends upon if your spouse really does love you for who you are. If he really loves the authentic you. And I think you probably have to do it a little bit gradually. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that you can just wake up one morning and say, I've been playing a role and I'm not playing this role anymore. And, you know, we have to renegotiate all whatever, you know. I don't think that's obviously the way to do it, you know. But I mean, I just know from my husband, like, I love him. I want him to be happy and be who he can be. And so when he started going off in the breast love direction, you know, which is not really who I am, but I appreciate it, I respect it, whatever. And it meant, you know, he's doing hipo to do. That means he's out of the house more and this and that, whatever. I still felt like I'm so happy. He has finally discovered a path in Judaism that really speaks for him. He's not a breast lover, by the way. He's not a card-carrying breast lover, but he's into that, you know, and he always had a Hasidic neshama. I knew that. He always wears a bekasher on Shabbos. He has long payas. I knew he had a Hasidic neshama, but he was living in a very Litvish world. And to see him finally realize, this is really who I am. This is really the direction I want to go in. I really want to study more Svarim on Tefillah and Amunah and Bitachon and all this like more emotional heart stuff. I was thrilled for him. I was happy for him because I love him. And I would like to think that as I have continually come more and more into myself as the years have gone by, he has respected me as much also. And when I have mourned to him, when I have said to him, oh, Avraham, like, I can't take it anymore. The pressure to conform, it's just like, it's stultifying, it's soul crushing, it's too much, whatever. He just looked at me and he said, Gila, don't forget, we're in Gilas. We're in Gilas.
Explain that. We're
in exile.
We're in exile. Yeah.
The redemption has not yet come. When the redemption comes, every individual is going to be respected for who they are. You are going to be the expert, the world's expert in being you. Everybody, you know, they talk about the tzaddikim having a circle dance, and at the center of the circle is Hashem, and every righteous person is going to have equal and direct access to God with no comparison, no competing, no anything with anybody else, just my relationship to God. That's the Ma'or V'Shamesh, a beautiful Hasidic commentary. And I love that one because that's the world that we're heading towards. And I really feel that the fact that there has been a movement towards greater individuality over the past 50 years, even though it's gone off in very unhealthy directions in some ways, because when Jews don't chop an energy that comes into the world, the other people chop it and they use it in destructive ways. That's what happened with feminism, unfortunately. Okay, but this whole movement towards greater individuality has sparks of kedusha in it, and it's signaling that we're coming closer to the geula. And so the question is, can we embrace it in an authentic Jewish way? Okay, which means it's part of me. I'm still part of a community. I don't want to make a spectacle of myself. That's not the point. The point is just to be true to myself in a quiet, sneistic, but genuine and wholesome way.
And yay! Wow, this is fabulous. You are a shining light. I learned so much. We all learned so much. And God willing, you've brought a lot more authenticity and wholesomeness into the world. I'm very grateful. Loved having you on the show. Thank you so much. This is Leah Richeimer for the Ladies Talk Show. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. And thanks so much for being on the show. here's the thing, ladies. If you don't subscribe, you may miss out and you're going to miss some great content. So you need to either like us or follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, on Torah Anytime, on YouTube, or go right to our website, www.ladiestalkshow.com, and fill in a subscription button. And then you'll get every week an update on exactly what's happening. And if you do that, oh, by the way, if you subscribe on our website, you also get 10 tips to have a great relationship. Don't miss it. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks a lot.